Hello, Ray Gang. I'm Aiden Ray. Today, I'm with head writer and founder of the West Virginia Explorer magazine, David Sibray. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you, sir.
So tell me, David, what made, what motivated you to become a writer?
So I wouldn't have to do math. I'm really quite serious about that. When I was, I hated math, and I thought finally, when I got to the university, this is my chance to escape having to do math. And so I studied writing that way. Wouldn't have to be doing adding and subtracting, which I ended up having to do after all anyway. But that's how I got started, kind of. But the other thing was wanting to tell a story. If your mom knows his mom and I go way back. I was a storyteller, and I couldn't stop. And so at some point I realized I can put these stories into words and share them with many more people. So that's how I got started.
I see. If you were to go back in time, what would you tell your 12-year-old self?
That everything's going to be fine, and that you can go ahead and be exactly the person that you want to be, and create as much as you want, and ignore any criticisms practically, and just continue to be and do, and everything will be fine. Especially at 12, because 12 is when stuff really starts to get tough. So that's when you really need. How old are you?
13.
Oh, well, so you know that when 12 came up, things started. Did you experience that? Things got a little more complicated,
Yes.
complex.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to be a writer when you grew up?
I don't know if I thought about being a writer. I didn't think about doing too much when I grew up. The idea in my head was just that somehow I'd live in a mansion, potentially a castle, and that I never would have to work. It just didn't occur to me. When it did occur to me was when it was the romance of thinking about being a writer, but it never got beyond that. I was just that kind of person. I thought about having an office, and I would have lots of pencils in a cup, and they would be really sharpened. But really, what I was going to be doing in that office, none of that ever occurred to me. Again, though, letting the 12-year-old know, that's fine, that's good enough.
I see. Well, so that's what you really wanted to be when you grew up.
Yeah, I think really in the end it was what I wanted to be. When I look around at the world and at beauty, I like to share that. I'm not sure that everybody does, but I think that a lot of us maybe have an inclination when we see something beautiful, when we see this waterfall, you're like, wow, that's beautiful. I want to bring my friends here. Well, through writing and photography, I can bring my friends to these places often and share it with them. And because we're now a big magazine, we can share it with 20,000 or more people a day get to see this stuff.
Yeah, that is interesting. What did you, or excuse me, what is your favorite part about West Virginia?
Oh gosh, I think that it's not too well known. So it's always, of all the U.S. states, there's still a lot to discover that isn't known.
Yeah.
And I think too, I like it because there are different West Virginias inside West Virginia. There's like the New River region that we live in. And then there's, up in the northern panhandle of the state, it's these steel mills and industrial areas and big factories, that many of which are shut down, but they still stand. And then there are other places like along the Ohio River that have steamboats and barges, and it's kind of a river type lifestyle. And then there's the Washington D.C. part of West Virginia, out in the eastern panhandle.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a country club out there.
Were your parents excited that you wanted to be a writer?
I think so. My dad was a practical man, and he wanted to make sure whatever I did, that, as well as being happy, that money was flowing. Now, being a journalist is not a good way to make money. Where it's not a high-paying job. It's incredibly rewarding, but you might, as a journalist, never make a whole lot of money. But for most journalists, that's just okay. We're fine to just work hard and report on things and write. That's where we get off.
Now, I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that you opened a library. Is that true?
Well, I have an uncle who lived in Charleston. There's a library in the Capitol building named for him, the John Sibray Law Library. And so but myself, I do have a book that I wrote about this county, Raleigh County. And I like libraries. I spend a lot of time in them.
Well, there we have it, folks. David Sibray, head writer and founder of the West Virginia Explorer magazine. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later, guys.